Welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. We are here with Andy Scheckman for our weekly podcast every Thursday. We do this. Today is Wednesday, but I am doing my giveaway tomorrow. This is your last chance to enter. So if you guys want a chance to win silver shipped straight to your front doorstep, you got to click one button. That button is subscribe, go enter. May the luckiest stacker win. We also have a couple of deals going on right now.
By the way, whatever you're going to give away, why don't you double it, and I'll throw in. So if you're giving away whatever you're giving away, double it, and I'll throw in the other half.
Wow! So the giveaway just got twice as big. Maybe we could pick two winners then, or just one big winner.
I'll leave that up to you, but I'm happy to chime in.
Wow! So it just doubled. The prize doubled. So make sure you go enter. This week, Miles Franklin has some deals. The deals are a 2.5 gram Volcambi gold bar, $25 over melt while supplies last. Also a 5 gram Pamp Swiss Platinum bar, $25 over melt. And last but not least, the 2023 Silver Kangaroos, $310 over spot. If you guys want to take advantage of those deals, send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. Let them know Silver Slayer sent you, or anything else. Just ask for a price sheet. We'll hook you up. So, Andy, what is up? Anything new going on, or anything you wanted to talk about leading into this episode?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot new going on, I guess you could say. I mean, we talked, at least in terms of gold and silver. Last week, we saw that BlackRock took or redeemed 7.8 million ounces of silver out of PSLV. Now, we've talked a lot about the draining of SLV by the authorized participants. We've talked a lot about the COMEX and the LBMA and the Shanghai Gold Exchange being bled dry. This is the first I've seen of PSLV, which is known as really I think the epitome of paper silver. I mean, the best. Eric Sprott has a great track record of being an honest, honorable guy, and a publicly traded company that I've never heard a negative word about ever. I've worked with Sprott USA for a very long time and working with their brokers, and Rick Rule when he was the CEO of it. I have nothing but respect for the Sprott silver and gold trust accounts, but this is the first time I've seen massive redemption like this. BlackRock taking out almost 8 million ounces. Certainly something to think about when we talk about big money trying to pickpocket the market with these cheap prices and the ability to run cover for their draining of the exchanges. Well, we can add PSLV to that. And we can talk about the fact that with the September purchases, that the central banks of the world added another almost 340 tons of gold in the third quarter. And it's the second highest third quarter on record, with the exception of last year, 2022, which was the biggest on record. And when we talk about the countries that are, when we talk about the countries that are involved in buying the metal, you don't have to look any further than Russia and China. Russia added to their reserves this quarter, and it's the largest gold reserves in Russian modern history. They are right now to over 2,360 tons at current measurement, and quite frankly, we believe that there's probably a whole lot more in their stash than what they are telling us. But nonetheless, what they are telling us adds up to the largest stash of gold in Russian modern history. And you don't have to look any further than the Chinese at the same time, who added another 180 tons of gold in the third quarter. Year to date, they've bought 593 metric tons. That's 80% more than what it bought in the first three quarters of 2022. Now, their estimated gold holdings, according to the official figures, are 5,220 tons, but that's a bunch of crap. Alistair McLeod says that they have as much as 40,000 metric tons, which would be 8 or 5 times the supposed 8,000 metric tons that the United States has. And look, they've bought for 11 straight months, that we do know. But these countries are buying. When you see all of the Chinese companies leave the LBMA price setting, they just vanished, in essence, disappeared, really, over the last few weeks. If I were them, I wouldn't be buying from the LBMA or the COMEX where it's documented. I'd be buying it everywhere else, like Russia, where it isn't documented, and build your stash, including the massive amount of gold that they mine internally, domestically. that we have no record of. So I guess the bottom line is you can see that these countries are adding metals to their stockpile as they understand that it's true wealth. And I think it's important when we look at Poland to I think read what the head of their central bank said. It's quite eye-opening. They added another 19 metric tons year to date. They bought 105 tons of gold, and they're a big player right now in the gold market. And the head of their national bank, his name is Adam Glapinski. He said something very interesting, and I'm going to read it to you here because I think it's worth mentioning. He said that the holding of gold is a matter of financial security and stability, and gold will retain its value, get this, even when someone cuts off the power to the global financial system, destroying traditional assets based on electric accounting records. Of course, we do not assume this will happen, but as the saying goes, forewarned is always insured. And the central bank is required to be prepared for even the most unfavorable circumstances. That is why we see a special place for gold in our foreign exchange management process. So you can see the way that these countries are thinking. They are front running any issue that may rear its head. And, look, you talk about hacking a system. Look, all the phones just went out in Australia for hours and hours and hours yesterday, I believe, or the day before. Hacking in this digital world we live in, or that type of issue where there was an attack on the financial system, it wouldn't surprise any of us, I don't think. Right. So these central banks are preparing for whatever is coming next, and maybe it is the ultimate de-dollarization that we've talked about for a very long time with the BRICS. But I figured that's a good way to kick it off. And I guess the only other thing that I would say, I've talked a lot about the banks and the potential for these banks to run into problems. And I think it's kind of interesting, and I would say no coincidence that last week, Friday, and ask yourself, what the hell are the odds of Bank of America, Chase, and Wells Fargo all glitching, as they call it, whatever the hell that means, delaying over 1 million transactions all at the same time, and the same day that Citizens Bank of Iowa collapsed, and then they collapsed because they had a very large position in the U.S. trucking sector, which is getting clobbered. And so they went upside down. This is the beginning of many more banks. This is the fuse that is lit of many more banks that I think will ultimately define the landscape. Now, their assets and their deposits were picked up by a large bank in Iowa, but there will come a time where those banks are not gobbled up by other larger banks, where their balance sheet will be too putrid, where there's bail-ins instead of bailouts. And that's when the fuse really gets lit. So anyways, lots to talk about, lots keep happening, but those to me stuck out this week as to things to mention.
It's kind of funny. I actually made a video mentioning this would happen with the banks the day before it happened, because I found some information. I did a lot of digging, and they were talking about something happening. I think it was November 1st, if I'm not mistaken. So I made the video on October 31st, and it's kind of funny that, people can almost predict this stuff. But when you were just mentioning the financial crisis, you said hacking, individuals could hack, but also the banks themselves. We've seen, I think it was Kanye West, they froze his bank account because of the stuff he was saying, or Andrew Tate, they could freeze his bank account. If they can freeze celebrities, why not ours? What's the difference, right? Especially for if there's a much deeper cause than someone just saying something that the majority doesn't like. And with gold,
well, that's called due process. That's called being guilty before proven innocent. That's not being able to defend yourself, and that's a very scary thing. That's what happened up in Canada.
Yeah, that when that happened, it was eye-opening just to think that they could do that. And all he did was say some controversial stuff. He didn't even do anything really illegal. He just, but when you were also mentioning the BRICS, or how Russia and China are making all these purchases, I think it's obvious that there is something deeper rooted than them just wanting it. We determine a country's wealth on how much gold we have, essentially, right? And if we're determining a country-to-country basis, apply that to a person-to-person basis. What does that mean? No matter how much money you have in your bank account is irrelevant when determining someone's wealth, right? Their actual value. So I wanted to bring something up. I haven't even showed you this. I wanted to kind of surprise you with this. I did a poll last week asking people what they think silver's true price is, actual price. And I posted it. This week, it has 4.5 thousand votes. So we get a pretty good idea of what the majority of people think. So I'm about to pull this up. Share screen right here. And here it is. You can see I said, what should silver's price be? And there's 4.5 thousand votes. 4.5 thousand. That's a lot of people. So 13% said below $50, 29%, which is the top, category is $50 to $100. 22% says 100 to 500, 500 to 1,000 is 9%, and second is 1,000 plus. And reading some of these comments, very interesting. I went through a lot of them in a video last week, but it only had like 1,000 votes. So now you get a better idea. But some people have some great stuff. I pinned this one. It says shut down the price manipulation on the COMEX, and you'll see silver is worth more than gold. But there's some pretty cool stuff on there. I want to get your opinion on, on those numbers.
Picking a number is always a guess. It could be educated.
It's very hard.
It is hard. It could be biased. But I think that, look, I think the price will go higher than anyone thinks possible. That's just the bottom line.
Butler.
I think it will go higher. And that's the one truism that I've learned in all these years in finance is that markets go higher to the upside than anyone ever thinks possible, won't fall further to the downside than anyone thinks possible. When I started in this industry in 1989, the Nikkei was 41,000 or nearly. And they owned Japanese-owned Pebble Beach and Rockefeller Center and casinos in Vegas and ski resorts in Colorado. And anything with a motherboard or an engine, they made better than we did. And everyone thought they were taking over the world. And let's look and see what the Nikkei is today here. 30 plus years later, the Japanese Nikkei is at 32,000. It's never come back, ever. And it's still 8,000 points plus away from where it was when I started in this industry. And that is with interest rates being at or near zero the entire time. They still couldn't get people back into the market. So it's taken over 3 decades to even get about 75% of the way back to where they once were. And by the same token, the Dow Jones was 2,100. And the first conference I went to, I remember vividly, I went with my dad. I was 19. And one guy, it was a hard asset conference in Las Vegas. And one guy said the Dow Jones would go to 10,000. And he was laughed off the stage. And here I watch it go from 2,100 to 36,000. No one expected that, as much as no one expected the Nikkei to do what it did. And so when you look at silver and its expansion in uses, and the fact that it's on a large industrial level, arguably we're witnessing a decrease in supply and major delivery off the exchanges. If you realize it's coming out of the ground at 7 to 1 right now, I mean, pick a number. Put gold at 3,000, divide by 7. What do you get? Over $300 an ounce. Even at 2,000, divide by 7. And so the point is, it's not that crazy to make a statement like that. I mean, if you take 2,000, we're almost there right now, and divide by 7, you could argue that realistically it should be $285 an ounce. That's the geologic ratio between gold and silver right now. It has gone from 16 to 1 to 7 to 1, according to Keith Neumeyer and all of his research as the CEO of First Majestic Silver and other mining companies. So could it be 300 an ounce? Hell yeah, why not? Put it at 5,000 and divide by 7. What do you get? 5,000 divided by 7,
which is a very realistic
$715 an ounce. Is that crazy? Maybe, maybe not. Is it crazy to think gold could go to 3, 4, or 5,000 in an environment where the most sophisticated, well-funded, and well-informed central bankers are massively are taking possession of it and accumulating it at levels that the world has never seen before? And you look at the central bank's acquisition of gold last year, or was the biggest year ever, and we're already ahead of that this year in terms of how much the central banks are buying. It just is. It's an environment where the biggest money in the world is showing you the way that they look at gold and silver. So these prices could go a whole hell of a lot higher, but I want to
Yeah,
make it very clear.
it's not
This is
about
not
that.
why we buy it. We
Yeah, it's
buy
not
it.
about that.
It's not to get wealthy. It is wealth, and it
Yeah.
will go to 3, 4, 500 an ounce in the face of a dollar collapsing.
That's what I was
And
going to say. You have to
yes,
look at it from the purchasing power of a dollar decreasing, so it takes more dollars to purchase that ounce. Like the
that's correct.
Zimbabwe $1 trillion bill, you see those people holding signs that says "broke billionaire," in third world countries. Like,
Well, if you
it,
look at China and Japan, the second and third largest economies in the world, gold reached all-time highs against both of them recently. It's not the price of gold going to the moon. It's the dollar that we measure it against, or the other currencies that are being measured against it, that matter. And the dollar is inordinately and unjustifiably strong. So everything that we value it against, even looking
yeah,
at the CPI came way down because the dollar went way up. And so it's all an illusion. Everything from
yeah,
the way that we gauge inflation to the price of commodities in the face of an inordinately strong dollar that much of the world is trying really hard to break free from by chipping away at its hegemony day by day by day by day by day, and little by little by little, logarithmic decay, bang, it snaps. And, as far as I'm concerned, we haven't seen anything yet. So those prices could all be
yeah.
justifiable. But I want people to know that's not
Especially
why I own it or why I sell
right,
it. And yes, you could actually thrive, not just survive, if you own
right,
enough of it. But that's not why you buy it. And you
right.
buy it because the dollar's in trouble, and you're trying to find a medium of exchange that has been agreed upon through all of time and history, something that's outlived everything the world's ever
Yeah,
thrown at it. And that's what gold and silver represent. And it's an exodus from a matrix that is sick and that is dying, and the
yeah,
Keynesian experiment that is coming to an end. So yeah, you could make a lot of money, and it could go a hell of a lot higher. But be careful what you wish for, because we have $300-400 an ounce silver. You're going to have a Big Mac that's $12, or
made a video
or a
about
cup of coffee
yeah,
at Starbucks that's $5, or whatever it may be. The dollar that we call money,
yeah,
our currency, is being little by little by little, it is being sidestepped for other
yeah,
alternatives like gold, like other currencies at this point, at least in terms of settlement, as we see across the globe. And over time, all of this settlement done outside the dollar will start to impact the reserve status of the dollar. And I think those days are growing closer. So when we see these pullbacks, these subsidies that make no sense, look at it as a bonus. Don't be disheartened by it. Look at it as, geez, these people are truly idiots that they're giving me that much more time to continue to add to my stack in an environment where everything we see around us should dictate that metals would be exceedingly higher than they are right now. So,
yeah,
it's not an investment, you guys, it's wealth. And
right.
that's the way I look at it. And it might go really high and make you wealthy,
It's
but that's not why we buy
yeah.
it.
If you truly think about the COMEX collapsing, or just how manipulated the prices, and if any day that were to come to light, and not in a, I couldn't say like in a perfect world, but even something is like, something as realistic as that would happen in the nickel market a couple of years ago, or even the signs that things are happening. COMEX, LBMA, and the LME all admitted that their reserves are low, and it's not getting any better. I made a video yesterday, and even in the intro, I mentioned something that you just said, because it's talking about AI fueling precious metals demand in
I read that.
2024. Yes, and in the
The need for
intro,
microchips.
yep, and it's only going to, it's only going to get more, and it's only going to become more obvious that we don't have enough silver. And in the intro, I even said, AI to fuel precious metals demand in 2024. I know what you're thinking. This is great. We could make a pretty penny, but at what cost, right? If you think about the bigger picture of why we need this silver, yeah, it's great. It's rainbows and unicorns, but when you really look at it, it could be extremely scary for the reasons we're trying to go green.
Correct. Correct. I agree. And I think that's the important way to look at it. You're buying this because we are at the end of a long experiment in Keynesian economics that is a system based on debt and consumption and taxation, whereas the Austrian economic system, which would have been a much better path to follow, is one that is built upon savings, investment, and reinvestment. It's the brick house and the little three pigs story versus the one made of straw. and the wolf comes and blows it down.
Wow,
Well,
I
you could
like
argue the
that.
wolf is about ready to blow this house
I like
down
that.
because we have, in many respects, we have not only lost a lot of the respect that the world has for us and or the good graces of our foreign creditors, where countries like China, as they are accumulating more and more gold, lo and behold, are down to their lowest treasury holding in over 14 years. You could say the same thing about Saudi Arabia, their lowest treasury holding in almost 10 years. And they continue to sell treasuries in favor of hard assets. And that's really the name of the game. That's what Zoltan Pozsar told us was coming. Bretton Woods 3, a system dominated by commodities and transparency. And, our system is opaque. It's based on debt instruments, rehypothecation, taxation. People say, well, who will trust the BRICS? Well, who's going to trust us anymore? Who's
There
going to
you go.
trust us? And I think you look at our legal system, you look at the divisiveness in this country, you look at all of the things around us that are equally as troubling as what we see around us outside the country with the mismanagement of the dollar, the sanctions, the coercion, all of these things that are making countries around the world say, I'm not quite sure. We talked about this last week, but for those people who didn't listen, we invaded Iraq 20 years ago, or didn't hear, by the way. And here it is 20 years ago. And last year, as an example, Iraq made $90 billion in oil revenue. And we don't let them direct the proceeds of that. It's held in a bank at the New York Fed or an account at the New York Fed. They asked the US for $1 billion of their $90 billion that they made last year. And we said no. So, I mean, you can see exactly why these countries around the world are rallying against the hypocrisy and the coercion and the hegemony of the dollar. And Iraq is no different. They publicly said they would like to join BRICS if invited. They're making trading in dollars illegal. All physical green bills will be out of the country and out of the banks by January 1 of 2024. So, you can see why this is happening. And it's something that our leaders are going down the wrong path. And if we were a united, strong country where it was about being an American, not black or white or red or blue or vax or no vax or rich or poor or whatever your political affiliation or ideology is, you are defined now by who you voted for last year. That's complete and total bullshit. Shouldn't be that way. We're Americans. We're all supposed to be pulling in the same direction. That's what this country was about, united into one common cause, and we are anything but. So I fear more so now for our ability to deal with this kind of really very serious ramifications of global de-dollarization and all of the things that are happening that are, I guess you could say, are anti-capitalistic, anti-American, anti-dollar. And that's why we buy gold and silver, because the rest of the system is lacking trust and transparency and credibility. And I think if you are not a contrarian, you are bound to be a victim. I do believe that.
Yeah. This is actually some of my merch. I have a clothing line called ag47apparel.com, and all of my stuff is like similar to that. And
Jeez, why didn't I know that? I'm gonna have to buy some of that.
Yeah, it's I put a lot of time into this stuff. It's pretty cool, honestly, because I've already learned making thumbnails and stuff from YouTube, so I kind of incorporated that into clothing. But anyways, yeah, I wanted to also wrap it up with one more thing. So I wanted to talk about selling, or even a little bit of buying into selling, because I never plan on selling for another 15, 20 years if it's retirement or whatever. But a lot of people don't think about that, right? Before I even buy a coin, I think about how I'll be able to sell it. And that's why a lot of times I buy Eagles right now. And I thought it's something that I've never heard anyone else talk about. And I want to say it on this podcast because this gets more views than my normal videos. But we're turning ourselves into a business, essentially at the end of the day, right? Like one day, all my silver, I'm gonna have to sell Slayer's coins or whatever on an eBay, or dump all of it on a table at a local coin shop, like that Pawn Stars episode, all the way back, But what I plan on doing, or what I would recommend, instead of just trying to sell all your stuff on the spot, would be make an eBay page right now, sell one coin every 6 months or a year. So then in 15, 20 years, I have an established business. I have seller ratings, right? I have, I have credibility, because if I'm trying to list all my stuff on eBay in one day, would you buy from someone who just made their account last week that has no? So in terms of like buying and selling, especially since you own a company doing this, what advice would you give people? Not saying like sell tomorrow, but just in general, let's say in a perfect world, not obviously not selling for, not transferring real money back into fake money, but just the reality of doing that from an investing perspective.
Yeah,
What could you say on that?
It's much easier to buy large amounts of gold because shipping it is not as difficult as it is shipping large amounts of silver. But we understand that as a company, we always provide a two-way market. We help people get stuff back. We can issue UPS insured air bills, email them to you, fix them to the
Oh, so
box.
you do buy back.
Oh yeah, any company, you should never
Okay.
do business ever with a company that doesn't buy
Right.
back. Ever,
Right.
ever, ever. Yes, but we do
Right.
buy back. If it was purchased from us, we'll guarantee you the highest bid price in the country. And we make it very easy. We lock in the order on the buy side, just like on the sell side. We send you an invoice. We tell you how to send it back safely by insured U.S. mail. And if you want our assistance, we do so by UPS, where we send you an air bill with insurance already placed on it, because UPS and FedEx will not insure metals. The post office will, up to $50,000, but it's a pain in the butt doing registered mail. It's very, very regimented
Tedious.
program. You have to cover it all with registered tape, and
Yeah.
it's a pain in the butt. So we can make it very easy for people to ship stuff back with insurance and pay them immediately on the
Yeah.
spot. But to your point, yeah, look, I mean, I became a power seller on eBay a long time ago. When I started in this industry, I used to, baseball's always meant the world to me. And I used to put in the newsletter, if you own baseball cards, send them to us. I'll pay you gold and silver for it. And I would
That's
buy and
cool.
sell them, became a power seller on eBay. We parlayed that into a very robust metals business. For whatever reason, I instinctually called it Miles Franklin Metals, my eBay account, even though I was buying baseball cards. Well, although we don't do much on eBay at all anymore, my oldest friend in the world, Joel, who runs my Brinks division in Florida down here, he was very adept at eBay. And for a few years before a lot of the bigger wholesalers got on eBay, we were the number one all-time leading seller on eBay. And Joel
That's
has
awesome.
plaques above his desk saying such. And we
That's
did it
awesome.
by starting out I did it by buying baseball cards over a period of time. So your point is legit if you're going to send it, but sending stuff on eBay is more difficult
PayPal
than it would be
fees,
calling a
eBay
company
fees.
like me. Yes.
Think about this: PayPal fees, eBay fees. Let's say you have 2,000 ounces, you have to take 3 to 4 pictures per listing, take it from your phone, send it to your email, upload. That's 4,000 pictures. Write out a description for every single listing. That would be a nightmare, right? That would be a nightmare. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. I guess thinking about it, obviously you would buy back, but it's cool to hear, that you could make it easier, and you're willing to pay that price.
For sure. No,
But
we will always help
yeah,
people get it back.
yeah. I
Always.
always think about selling. A lot of people don't think about. I ask people, have you ever thought about it? What price would you sell at? What price would you throw in the towel and say, okay, I'm $50, $100? You ever thought about that? A lot of people don't. But anyways, I know you got to go. We could wrap this thing up here. Folks, remember that Miles Franklin is doing some deals right now. We have the let me
And I don't
go
mind if you
here.
want to announce what you and I have been talking about. I don't mind doing that now. If you want to wait, we can do that too. That's up to you. But
Um,
I'm proud to announce it, so I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah. Okay. So right now we have the 2.5 gram Volcambi gold bars, $25 over melt. The 5 gram platinum bar, $25 over melt, and the 2023 silver kangaroos, 310 over spot. Remember, info@milesfranklin.com. Let them know Silver Slayer sent you. And yeah, what Andy is talking about is it's pretty big. It's I guess I can tell you guys, I am going to become a broker for them. So you guys will be, instead of me referring you to another broker, you can come directly through me. And I'm honored to be able to do that. I think it would be, because I know a lot of you guys do purchase through them, and I think you guys would rather even purchase straight through me instead of another broker, since you guys know me, you'll be able to talk to me a lot more. And I think it'll be a great experience. I really do.
It's
And
something that I don't offer willy-nilly. It's something that I take
yeah,
great
yeah,
I think about very strongly building a company for over 3 decades, and the people that represent us mean everything to me. You are someone that I hold in very high esteem, and I'm honored to offer you that position. And I know that the people will love to speak with you. I do know
yeah.
that. We do have some training and some hurdles
Oh
to get
yeah,
over,
it's
but I
not
would
gonna,
say
yeah,
by no later than the first of the year, if not much sooner, you
yeah,
will be able to do just that. And again, I'm honored. It's our privilege to do that, and we look very much forward to it. So we'll
yeah,
talk more about that next week. Unfortunately, I do need to run. I need
yeah,
to be
yeah,
somewhere in 3 minutes. But
yeah. Okay,
I appreciate
yeah,
you, brother. I appreciate all of you out there. I really do.
yeah,
We'll go through all of this craziness together. And I can't
yeah,
think of anyone I'd like to do it side by side with than you, my friend. And so welcome aboard, and look
yeah. I
forward to
do.
getting that official here in the coming weeks. And in the meantime, send us an email at info@milesfranklin. Say the Slayer sent me. We'll make sure that the prices you are getting are top notch, that the service you're getting is top notch, and that we will always be there to answer your questions, to be accessible and to be accountable. And pretty soon you'll be able to go directly to Slayer here, and he will represent Miles Franklin in a way that we are honored
Yeah.
to have him, and know that he will do it like he does everything, excellent and top notch. So, anyways, I
Yeah.
won't ramble on, but it's awesome, and I'm glad that you're doing it. And I'll look
Yeah.
forward to seeing you again next week. We're going to do this every week, same time. I asked you to do it today instead of tomorrow because I have
Right.
obligations that take me out of the office tomorrow. But Thursday afternoon, let's just say Wednesday or Thursday afternoon at
There we
2
go.
o'clock it's in stone. So I look
Yeah.
forward to doing this with you and watching the craziness tick away together.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. So yeah, guys, remember I'm doing a giveaway as well. Go enter. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.